there's a lot of people get the impression that as soon as you start something, that's you going for broke. That's you going for the $1 billion exit, or at least the life-changing 100 million, 10 million, whatever it is it takes you to get out for retirement. So it's basically the big one. That's the big one for you. It's you're going to sell your business. You're going to grow one business, you're going to sell it, and you're set for life. And that's kind of what people expect because they see the stories of, Facebooks and Googles and all that kind of stuff that they've been founded in a garage and suddenly they got to like life-changing money. But the vast majority of people that I've met that have sold a business or have built wealth in general have done it bit by bit.
Colin Gray, how's it going?
Craig Hewitt, not too bad. How are you?
Good. I think we're both in non-home work environments, so our podcast setup here is a little different. But I hope that it's. I think the more important thing, especially these days, is like valuable information and like production quality. Maybe like less important. So the fact that we're both traveling and podcasting is maybe appropriate.
Yeah. And we'll probably get some comments to belie this, but audio engineering has never been as simple as it is these days. Chuck it through one of the dozens of tools that clean up audio, and suddenly your crappy old audio that you'd never have recovered 10 years ago sounds pristine. So we'll see how we come out.
Yeah, for sure. So Colin, you've been on the show twice, maybe, and I've known you for 10 years since we kind of both got started in this like online business and in the podcasting space. And you're going to be the co-host for the foreseeable future. And we're dating, I think, as
indeed.
co-host and kind of see how things go. But I thought like we have really good chats. We always say like, gosh, we should have recorded this. And so that's what we're doing here.
Yeah, the usual. Yeah. I've got this weird relationship with a few friends. Like I've met you a bunch of times in person now, Craig, and we talk fairly often as well about all sorts of things. But then I also have always listened to your podcast as well. So it's like this weird dual relationship where I'm like listening in on your other stuff at the same time as actually talking to you as well. And I've got this with a few people that I've met through the industry too. And it's really interesting. But yeah, so I feel like simultaneously honored to come on Rogue Startups, the one of my original favorites, as well as good to have a good chat with a pal.
Yeah, for sure. So I think like just to put in context, like where you are. So you were the founder of Alitu, and we're going to talk about the were part, I think largely today. So you exited the business somewhat recently. And I have some questions about like the kind of process, both from like a mechanical perspective and like psychological perspective. But then I also think like one of the things I always try to do on the show is like try to abstract like specific lessons to like generalizable things for everybody. And I think that question is more like in the state of business and what like M&A looks like today, like, should you sell your business today? Should you not? And kind of how you thought about like if this was the right opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's something I've thought about a lot. I thought about a lot before the sale, and I've thought about a fair bit since as well, like how you actually find that time. And I think we've had a few chats about this over the last few years as well. Just when's the right time? I think there's so much goes into it, isn't there? Like there's the kind of psychological part, which is how much you're enjoying doing it, how much you want to do it for the foreseeable future, whether you are the best person for the business at that time as well. All of those kind of go into your mindset and your current state of mind. But then there's the industry as well, isn't there? And there's two parts of that as well, isn't there? So three. So the industry, how well the industry's doing, the demand in the industry, how the industry itself is growing. But then the other side is how well the business is doing. So the industry might be doing really well, but your business isn't, or vice versa. So there's a whole bunch of it, isn't there? There's like mindset, industry, and actually company status as well. So I don't know, what do you reckon is the place to jump in?
I think just to give folks context, like Alitu is a business in the podcasting space, does a lot of the same things as Castos actually. And so I'm happy and proud that we're able to be, good buddies, even though we were direct competitors for like a fair bit. And I think that's like a lesson maybe for everybody. For most people listening to this show, the answer of like when you should sell your business was like 2021. But like
Yes.
that ship has sailed. And so maybe like I think like a question I asked myself is like those three questions that you posed. You know the data today, but do you know that you don't know that data relative to what it will be in 2 years? So even though it's like kind of a shit time to sell your business right now, no offense, like is it going to be better or worse in a couple of years?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the third part, but like I don't know.
Yeah. I Oh, there's obviously so many different ways of looking at this. I think the way I looked at it is, or I would look at it in future as well, is I don't think it's possible to find the best time. Like I think it's like investing. People talk about like being able to, day trade, and so to be able to do something like that, to be able to invest and make money on investing consistently, you need to be able to tell better than anyone else when something is at its best price. Uh, or you need to be very, very good at getting out when at least it has gone up a decent, significant. I mean, that's one approach, isn't it? Like you buy something and as soon as it goes up 15, 20%, you sell it. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
what's going to happen
Yeah.
next. Like you might believe it's going to double, it's going to triple, but actually you don't know what it's going to do. So you should sell it when it's up. And I think there's something around that with selling businesses too. Like I don't know, how would you see it, Craig? Like I think there's so much, like over the last 15 years, like running this thing and meeting so many different business owners, business runners, entrepreneurs, there's a lot of people get the impression that as soon as you start something, that's you going for broke. That's you going for the $1 billion exit, or at least the life-changing 100 million, 10 million, whatever it is it takes you to get out for retirement. So it's basically the big one. That's the big one for you. It's you're going to sell your business. You're going to grow one business, you're going to sell it, and you're set for life. And that's kind of what people expect because they see the stories of, Facebooks and Googles and all that kind of stuff that they've been founded in a garage and suddenly they got to like life-changing money. But the vast majority of people that I've met that have sold a business or have built wealth in general have done it bit by bit. They've built something to 200K and they've sold it at that, and they've used that 200K to build something of 500,000, and then they've sold that. Then they've built something to 1 million and they've sold that, and everything gives them more experience, but equally it gives them capital as well. And that kind of I'm stealing Rob's phrase there, stair-stepping approach. There's a different stair-stepping approach whereby it de-risks you every time as well. Like I found that was what I got most anxious about over time, was the fact that I'd built this thing that got to a £1 million plus business and I hadn't had anything out of it really apart from a salary. And so I felt like I need to get something out of this just in case it all goes wrong tomorrow. And so the stair-stepping type approach gets you to that. You get a little bit at a time, you get a little bit of equity out, you get to build the next thing, and you learn every time. But I don't know, do you think that's nonsense, or do you think that's too safe, or is it too wussy to think that way? Should most people actually, if a business is doing well, should you keep going? Sorry, just to give you one last thing before I hand it over there, Craig. The point of that is, I think for the most part, the best time to sell a business is in that kind of investing approach where a business is doing really well and actually you do expect it to grow. Because that is when you're going to get the most for it. It's going to be when it's the easiest to sell.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, but obviously it's a risk because you might think it's going to get a lot bigger.
Yeah. I mean, I think that while it's still growing is the most important to me. Like, if I look at the sellability of my business, like we're not growing. I don't know a lot of people that are growing right now, and kind of conventional, product-led growth, especially SaaS. And so I think that that's like one kind of lever we don't have and we had previously. Is like you could tell the story of like, hey, product-led growth, SEO, content marketing. You just do this thing and magically customers appear and buy your stuff. As a customer acquisition channel, that's the thing that's changed the most, and that's kind of hard. If the business isn't growing, which is kind of the case we're in, I think the math of like selling or not is a little different. And this is just like my experiences. Like we ran like a light M&A process earlier this year,
Mhm.
and got one offer that was really terrible.
Mm. Yeah.
And that kind of told me, like, hey, the market, and this is like, probably the 80-20 of the market. Like, we reached out to a bunch of these like roll up kind of companies. Um, and some said no, some said not right now, and one said, like, this this is what we would offer. Um,
Yeah.
because we're not huge, we did about 1.5 million last year. Because we're not growing and we're not massively profitable. Because like SaaS, like, I think the dirty secret of SaaS, like for folks who are just starting out, is like, even at $1 million, there's not a lot of cash left over.
Yeah.
There's just not. Like, you got to pay developers, and we pay, you probably did too, 15+% of our revenue to AWS and Cloudflare,
Yeah. Yeah.
and all this kind of stuff. And then, like, I need to get paid, and like, we have taxes and all this kind of crap. Like, there's just not a lot of money left over.
Yeah.
And so I think like these, like you said, like the growth or the cash flow story, you need to be able to tell one or the other to these acquirers, is like, not, for us at least, not like amazing. And so I think like that's kind of like where we are in this math, is like, it probably makes more sense for us to keep the company for now, to your point of like stair stepping, to extract like kind of what wealth we can, from it, which is like me paying myself like a nice salary. Like, there's not a
Yeah.
whole bunch of extra
Yeah.
money for me to, like, I'm not making a whole ton of money from it. But I do agree that, like, to your original point, like, sometimes maybe you get lucky, and like the first thing you do is the moonshot, and you sell, Instagram to Facebook for $1 billion, and you made it in a weekend. Uh, that just never happens, basically. Like,
Yeah. So
yeah,
rare.
yeah, and even you stair stepped, right? Like, you did the podcast host, and then Alitu, and you probably had some things in there to, like, within the one business unit, you stair stepped, kind of like we did with Podcast
That's true.
Motor.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't sell anything along the way, but you're right. It was stair stepped in terms of capability. Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
Did the
Yeah,
content, which developed the audience. I
yeah,
That was with a tiny team, just me, and then me and Matthew, and we built it to a reasonably profitable space there, like up to maybe 250,000 a year. And then from there, we had enough money coming in, like profit, to be able to commit to building some software and an audience to actually ask as well. Like, I think that was one of the important parts, was developing an audience that could guide us on what they actually wanted in a piece of software too. You're right. Yeah. So it was like, it was making that money so we didn't have to take funding, didn't have to give away a bunch of equity, all of that kind of stuff, that made it much more possible, for sure. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Was that
That's so
similar with,
underrated, because we did a
yeah.
similar thing with, like, had a content engine running, like, through Podcast Motor, and then acquired our WordPress plugin for Castos to, like, acquire a customer acquisition channel. That's so underrated, to have that before you start with SaaS, because, like, the cold start SaaS problem is massive. Like, we see it all the
So
time, and
tough.
it's so hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, I know it's kind of easier said than done. It's kind of how we started out, I guess, isn't it, Craig? But it's like, and it takes a while. That's the trouble. Like, content takes a while to develop an audience, but like, it takes a while to develop a bit of software as well, and to get it out to market. Even these days, it still takes a
yeah,
while to get it commercialized. It might not take you that long to build it now, but to properly commercialize it, it does. And by
yeah.
that point, you might have built the wrong thing because you've not had an audience to actually
Right.
validate it with, and ask what they want and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was funny you mentioned there about the sales process, and the fact that I think I could have kept going. We had plans. So with our
Mm,
team, we had plans around how we get it. Like, we were in a similar situation. We weren't growing very fast. We weren't very profitable. I think you're absolutely spot on there. Like, our scale of SaaS, where you're in the sort of 500,000 to 1 million to maybe even 2 million range, there's not a lot of profit left over, because you need this kind of you need a minimum team to run it, don't you? Minimum
hmm.
team and minimum resource. You haven't hit economies of scale by that point yet. I think once you reach like 3 or 4 million, going by the kind of people I've talked to, that's when profit starts to actually come in. But then most people just start chucking it back into more resource anyway. But we hadn't hit that either. So we had plans to try and get into a better position, so that it could have been worth more, and we could have sold it for more. But I had lost the appetite, I'll be honest. Like, I think that's the other part, like the mindset. I started this thing in 2010. And as much as I love podcasting, I've been talking about podcasting for 15 years. And I'll still try and convert people into listen to podcasts. I still listen to podcasts. I still make podcasts for other spaces now. So it's not like I've fallen out of love with it. But I just, there's a point as well, I think, that it doesn't matter how much you could grow it more if you're just not very excited doing it, very happy doing it, or even there's just other things you want to do. I think that was a big thing for me. There was a few other things I was just getting really interested in that I was missing the opportunity to work on, and that was why I think that was one of the big reasons why I sold the company at that point. Even though it probably wasn't the best time to sell, it certainly wasn't the best time to sell historically. It might not be the best time to sell in future, but I'm still happy we did it at the time we did.
I want to ask about kind of like, I'll say, falling out of love with the business. Because 15 years is a long time. I think we're 12 years in. We're 13 years in, all said. Like, for me, there's aspects of the business that I definitely don't love anymore. There's aspects to it that I really do love. And like you and I were chatting on WhatsApp the other day, and like the part I love the most is our team. I love our team. I love all of our team. I love how we work. I love the freedom it affords me to be up at my daughter's volleyball camp this week and able to like work remotely and largely kind of own my time. I guess I don't love the problem we solve these days, which is kind of like what you're talking about, which is like podcasting. It's a tough market. It's not growing. It's hyper competitive. Everything's competitive these days, but I guess that's kind of like where I am, is like the problem of podcasting is not the thing that gets me out of bed every morning.
Yeah. It's a funny industry as well, in that the problem that we set out to solve is no longer the problem most people see. So like so many people coming into podcasting now, podcasting isn't audio only. Podcasting is video and audio. And it's maybe not even podcast hosted. Like, it's hosted on YouTube or Spotify, and they don't even have an RSS feed anymore. And I'm not here to argue with that. I'm not one of the purists that say it's only a podcast if it's RSS feed or anything like that. I think that's a bit over the top. But but it's like, it's a different problem now, isn't it? Like, I think I was still quite excited about some aspects of Alitu, because I think we were in a position, and the people that took it over still are. I think it's got a really good chance of riding that wave, because it has become video first now, and it's built in a way that I think really suits that type of medium too. So I think it just changed a lot, didn't it? Is that how you felt about it? Like, it was just different than when we got into it, I think.
Yeah. The thing that is most frustrating to me, and again, this is in the context of like kind of the life cycle from an emotional perspective as a founder, is I always think like we have all these jobs to do, and I just hate the word jobs to be done. I hate the term, but like as a founder, like I have this challenge and I want to achieve this challenge, and I want to achieve this other challenge. I want to achieve this other challenge. Kind of done like several of those, like raise some money. We kind of grew to like a reasonable size. The challenge we have right now is really hard. Maybe that's why I don't like it as much. But it's like, first, like you launch this thing, and then you do, and then you get to a point. And at this point, it's like our challenge now is basically like, how can we eke out like 5% gain via SEO to get more trials? And in a business that's in a market that's not growing, we need to steal from our competitors, essentially. And so like, if I look at like, what job do I need to do in the business, that's not like the thing that excites me. I think one lesson to your earlier comment about like the stair-step is like, I'm very much like a 0 to 1 kind of person.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. That's exactly what I identify with. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And once it's down to optimization, once it's down to growing perfect, team structures and processes and all that kind of stuff. Do you know, I enjoy doing that for myself, but it does not excite me at all, the idea of building that for like spending 5 years growing a team around that. Like I actually, it really quite interests me going into like a bigger company and saying, and giving, and like analyzing it and spending a month really digging into it and giving them a report. but I don't want to implement it. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Like I do love process, workflow, all that kind of thing. I love the idea of designing a team, designing a company. That's the bits that I really enjoyed. But then actually the grind of the yearly thing of having to put that into action, because it takes so long once you're a bigger team. That doesn't get me going at all. But how do you balance that with what you will do then? Do you kind of break up your days so that you're doing some of the work that you don't enjoy, but mixed up with some of the stuff you do enjoy at the moment? How are you sort of planning
I
that
do.
out?
I do. I heard it said really well the other day that you need to Spanx your calendar.
Okay.
So Spanx, the
Yeah, you get your
what was
pants
it,
on. Yeah.
undergarment.
Yeah.
You need to confine and control your time, because otherwise, um, and I think Castos I have a lot of responsibility to other people. My
Yeah.
inbox is legit. Like, I have people to pay and respond. Some customers email me, and I have to be involved in the business to an extent at this point. And we have a relatively robust team, I think, for where we are and what we're doing. I don't have to be involved day to day, putting in 40 hours a week for the business to do what it's doing. And I haven't for a while now. I think that the danger, to your point, is if I don't Spanx my time, it just bleeds over to kind of all available time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so what I've tried to do really just in the last couple of months is box it as much as I can to I go all day, super hard, a couple of days a week on Casto stuff. And currently those are Mondays and Thursdays because we have team meetings then. And I can get all of the real kind of proactive work done that I need done in that time. And then it's just a bit here and there with a check email and a respond to Slack a couple times a day. And then it's the rest of my stuff, like recording this podcast and doing YouTube and my kind of AI consulting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I do think that as you get to this point of maturity in your business, the business can consume all of your time. And that's just to me, it's an economics kind of question of if the business is growing and there's a ton of potential, then all of my time definitely should be put into that. If it's not, and the business is pretty mature and it's kind of doing its thing, and I hate to say it, but the opportunity kind of just isn't there. It's not going to be a $10 million business. Then I owe it to myself and my family to allocate some of my time somewhere else. And I just want to be really smart about kind of how I do that. You brought up an interesting point that I've thought of recently, and I'd be super interested to hear your perspective on it, is getting a job.
Yeah.
I think I think having a job could be really interesting right now, especially in the age of AI. I think I have a friend who is head of AI at a huge real estate company. And I think something like that could be really interesting. There's not a lot of jobs I would take, but something like that would be pretty interesting. If I was in a different kind of place.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Would you ever have a job?
Yeah. I think I would.
Yeah.
I don't think I would be. I don't think I would end up 5-10 years in another company. But then who knows? I don't know. But I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. A job like that, where it was 1-2 years, you just think, this company, I'm going to go in there with one particular goal that might take me 1-2, maybe even 3 years, something really interesting. Yeah, absolutely. Building out, what does AI infrastructure look like for an AI first real estate company or anything else? Or even I still love content. And I spent so much time working with content creators, working on stuff for podcasters, teaching podcasters, all that kind of stuff. I love the idea of actually trying to apply that to an industry that's not more traditionally that way inclined. Something that, an industry that's much less competition around content, or go and be a sort of head of content or a content strategist for somebody that I think could make a big impact in that way as well. So I think there's a few things. It would have to be a really specific thing, but yeah, there's certain jobs I would do, maybe 3 days a week kind of thing, and still be able to mess around my own stuff the other 2 days. Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. Without divulging the exact kind of financials, you said yourself, this is kind of a stair step, exit for you. So to me, that means you'll need to work again at some point. How do you think about that? Like, you had a win, you're taking some time off maybe now.
I
How are
think
you
about
thinking
it
about like
badly,
the
honestly.
financials of Okay. Yeah. Tell
Yeah,
me more about that.
I've had some trouble with this, yeah, for sure. Like it's yeah, exactly. I think we got a really good outcome for the company. Various uh, good things like for the staff, all that kind of stuff for the most part. But yeah, absolutely, it's not like retirement forever money, but it's plenty to help me start something else and to give me some time to think about what's next. I and for the first 2 months, it was mainly transition. So it was helping them take over the company. So I was out pretty quick, which is unusual in a acquisition as well, I think. But yeah, for the
Yeah.
first 2 months, it was me kind of working full time to pass it over. But as soon as it hit the end of that, it was March, April. So this 1st of May, basically, I was kind of out of my full time work with that. And that was it. It was like we actually handed it over pretty successfully. Like we got through it all. I think we did it in a really efficient way. And I sat down that Monday morning and I was like, what do I do now? No idea. It was like
Yeah.
it was weird. But for the next week or two, I just walked upstairs to my office. I sat down in front of the computer. I started working on some stuff, and I started getting really anxious by like 11 a.m. Like I wasn't being productive enough. I wasn't getting enough done. I wasn't making any money yet. Like I hadn't done enough things that was like working towards a new business again or client work or whatever. And I suddenly realized I need to this is just completely pointless. Like there's absolutely no benefit in me treating myself that way. I need to actually give myself some reward. So I started to slow down a bit, and I set myself the goal that I would just take the summer and try and be as lazy as possible and spend time with the kids. Like my kids are kind of getting older as well, and so it's great to have a summer to be able to spend more time with them as well. So that was what I did. I said deadline end of August. So I've got till 1st of September, and then I'm allowed to start stressing out about it start of September.
Okay.
but
Yeah.
from there, I've set out other milestones. So I don't need to. I've decided I don't need to make any money for the next 6 months beyond that. So September to something like February is like foundations, just building foundations of what I want to do next. Giving myself time to experiment, to build, to talk to possible customers, clients, if it's consulting, building little things to test whether they're valid businesses, that kind of thing. But then from February, I need to start making a living again because that'll be a year from the sale as well.
Right. I was going to say, so a
that's
year.
the timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, I'll just, you don't have to answer, but I'll just kind of talk through how I would maybe think about it is like, that's the money you spent from like, not having salary is a portion of like what you brought home from the sale.
Yeah.
And I guess you just have to feel good about what that proportion is. Like that's half, or it's 10%, or it's 1%, or whatever it is. And you kind of squared with that being okay.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Yeah. I've kind of figured out like how much it'll cost me to live for those 12 months if I make nothing between now and then. I'm lucky enough that I do have a bit of coaching income during that time. So I still do some coaching with a few clients. And I really enjoy that as well. It's good fun doing that. So that's really nice that kind of covers a wee bit of the bills, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to do some teaching with a couple of support programs that they run over here. The Scottish Government helps support as well. So helping some startup founders get started, essentially, which I think is really good fun. So I'm looking forward to that as well. I've done a little bit of that already. I'm going to do more of that in the next 6 months. But yeah, basically that kind of helps it. And my worst case scenario, though, is I've worked out exactly how much I need for that year, and I've decided, yes, that's okay. I'm fine, even if I have to spend that. That's all right.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. I guess it's impossible to tell, but like, so stuff in the news this week has been like, oh, the SaaS or the jobs apocalypse is not proving true as much as people thought. Even though I see huge unemployment numbers coming out, 140,000 or something from tech firms, but like, the SaaS job, or the jobs apocalypse, especially in tech, is not proven out as much as people thought. How do you look at where we are as SaaS in the kind of value life cycle? Like, 5 years ago was the best time. It's not as good a time. How do you, as you were evaluating to sell the business, you were like,
Yeah.
now is a good time because like you got an offer and the business was
Yeah.
at like a stable kind of reasonable point, and you had
Yeah.
some math around like the industry, and so like podcasting and SaaS in general. We'll just put those together.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
how did you think about evaluating kind of where that was in terms of like it's going to get better or worse?
Yeah, I've been reading some of the same chat. Like, it's not going to be as bad, the SaaS apocalypse and everything. I think there is a big element to that. I think there is so much that it's been said many times over, but I'll repeat it. There's so much more to running a SaaS than just the software, than building the software, than just
Yeah.
coding. There's even more to it than just customer service, like other elements that AI might be able to take over a lot of. But there's so much more to it that, just one person on their own could potentially run a SaaS, but I think it'd be so hard. Like, they'd have to. I think the only people that potentially could run a SaaS by themselves are people like us that have done it. Like, I don't think your
Mm,
random people in the world are gonna, like, an estate agent is gonna just start up an estate agent SaaS, or a lawyer is gonna start up a lawyer SaaS and just do it by themselves. I think they need product people, they need customer services, they need all these people that actually know how to do all that stuff well. Yes, they could ask AI, like, how do I run a customer services team? But it's a different thing from being able to actually run it well, like, with
yeah.
oversight, to give that kind of, to supervise that kind of thing. So I think that's a big part of it, of why it's not going to be quite as doom and gloom as everyone says. The trouble is, we were SaaS and content,
Mm,
and
yeah.
content is the other utterly threatened piece as well. I actually think, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in a second as well, but I actually think content is not going to be suffer as much as a lot of people have said in the past as well. I think both SaaS and content will take a hit. I think certainly there'll be more competition for SaaS. There'll be way more competition for content. But I think people will still look out the authentic stuff. And I think AI will still have real trouble competing with um, a certain type of podcast, a vast majority of podcasts, which is conversations like this, which,
Oh yeah.
like, the kind of newsy based, informational based. Yeah. But I mean, do you think that?
Yeah. So I think like when you look at content, I think there's a few buckets you could put it in. One is like what written web based content. I think that's very challenging. What we're doing here, and I'll put other YouTube in that bucket, is by far the best place to put your time and money right now. Mostly because like I think the risk is that the other bucket, which is like conventional social media, is so easy to fake with AI written content, and like even some video. Like my most recent YouTube video is about like generative video, and it's not perfect, but it's really good. And
Really?
so I think
Yeah.
like anytime that's the case, then the amount of competition increases and the ability to perform and stand out there goes down. Um, but very few people can have this conversation, and so I think that's why it's valuable.
I think pure how to content is basically dead. Written is utterly dead. Like, just a 5-step guide to changing your car tire, a 10-step
Yeah,
guide to getting your will done, whatever it might be. That kind of content, which used to work an absolute treat 10 years ago when we were doing it, is just dead. Video, I don't know, where do you see YouTube on that at the moment? Like, I feel like even how to video is going to be a real struggle in the next few years for two reasons, I suppose. One is people just go to ChatGPT and ask, like, how do I change a car tire? And it'll give them pictures and stuff like that, might even generate them video. The other is that maybe the car tire one isn't the best example of this, but I'm doing a lot of AI video summarizations right now on YouTube for how to content.
Mm,
Like, if it says, here's how to, or here's the best way to set up your Hermes agent right now, I'll look at that video and I'll go, 15 minutes, or I'll just hit summarize this video and I'll just read through
yeah,
the summary. And 9
yeah.
out of 10, I'll just use that rather than watch it. I don't know. What do you think about YouTube's prospects there?
Yeah, so I guess I'll speak to it from two perspectives. Like from the Castos perspective, we did quite a bit of YouTube. It was always pretty hard to
Mm-hmm.
perform really well. I think because even going back a few years, like the how to podcasting content is like relatively solved. Like it's just technically not that hard to do a podcast. That's the
Yeah.
artistic side of it that's really hard. And that like there's no good content around that. Like there's no usefulness for content around that, I would say. We are just starting to do YouTube content again at Castos, and the entire goal of it is to seed the models. So to have a bigger SEO footprint under the Castos brand. So we own the channel and we can publish content about the things that we want to associate our brand with. That's the only reason we're doing it.
Yeah.
It will be helpful too, but like they are very SEO optimized. And I don't mean like people search for a term and watch our video. I mean like the models are ingesting all the videos on YouTube, and they're, it's a cited source in all these kind of AI visibility tools. For me personally, around like my AI and coaching business, it's just the best combination of like discovery and trust that there is.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, I have leads every week from my YouTube channel, and several clients coming from it, and like one very, very, very big customer client that like watched a couple of my YouTube videos, reached out, and now we're doing like a quite large engagement for like fractional head of AI with a
Nice. Yeah.
$2 billion business. All from YouTube, and like one sales call.
Wow. See, you're doing, I would argue a lot of your, because I've seen a load of your YouTube videos and you're doing a great job there. A lot of them are not necessarily pure how to either, though, aren't they? There, a lot of it, you're doing quite a lot of more not discovery. Well, I suppose it is like kind of news, I suppose. Like, here's what's happening with the new Hermes version, or here's 7 things you can do with OpenClaw, that kind of thing. It's more like, giving people, it's interesting content. It's not just how to do this step by step. It's interesting, fun stuff that for people that are really enthused about this topic, which I think is the kind of thing that people will actually watch bit by bit.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I've struggled with the strategy here a lot, and I'll I'd love to get your perspective on kind of where I've landed. For a long time, it was very broad, and the goal was just to get views and subscribers. And then kind of had a crisis of like, what is the business outcome I want to hope to achieve from this content? If all of the videos are, watch me build a AI stock trading bot with Hermes, what business outcome can I hope to achieve with that? And I think and this is where I think the biggest thing is YouTube is a different type of content channel than web-based content. And it's kind of like a social media in this respect, that like the current strategy that I have now is as wide and as mass appeal as possible, with the option for people to then watch the more targeted videos from there.
Okay.
So this is kind of the strategy, and I've heard this from several people, but like I'm going to record a video later today about the jobs apocalypse not coming true. That's like a really wide video. Everyone basically would want to watch that. And then I'll mention, hey, if you want help understanding how your company can navigate like the AI landscape, I work with a few clients, and then I'll have a link to a video in the description and I'll mention this in the video, like, hey, if you want to watch, how I think about this, watch this, video in the description. And then out of, hundreds or thousands of people, some people will do that and kind of enter the invisible funnel. But that's how I think about it. Like, I don't think that it makes a lot of sense to create a lot of that targeted content. You probably only need a couple of those pieces and then just like reference them from the really wide pieces. And that's kind of how the platform native funnel like can work.
Yeah. And that's how you get people to that specific how to. It's how you find people who are willing to watch.
Yep. They self-select
20 minutes of that because they've enjoyed your more news-based, your more discovery or entertainment type based content. And then, they've selected in. Yeah, that's interesting. Are you finding those types of videos easy enough to ideate, like to come up with the ideas for those kind of more general ones, but still, because I was going to say still are relevant enough to your channel for YouTube to push it? Because that's kind of that's the legend, isn't it? That YouTube, if you change the topic, they won't push those videos. Like, are you finding that you're keeping them relevant
I've
enough?
I've definitely run up against this. Like, I think if I had to say what YouTube believes my channel is about, it's AI news and product review channel.
Yeah.
It is like how I would say that YouTube sees me. And I've had several, like, I just wanted to do several videos about marketing and being a founder and running a team, and they do terribly. They do terribly.
Really?
And so I think that, like, I just have to look at, like, maybe it's a slow transition over time to slowly introduce some of these other topics and start to, like, expand what YouTube knows about me. But I'm also only at like 23,000 subscribers. And so, like, probably, like, what I would tell someone is the smartest thing is just to get to like 100,000 subscribers. And then I can get, cute and fancy.
Yeah.
But I probably just need to suck it up and do what YouTube is telling me to do for a while.
Yeah, totally. Take its direction.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a bit.
Yeah, because it's a great platform,
Yeah. There is a bit of, AI content is going to do better just now anyway, because there's so much more eyeballs on it. It's so much more hypey. For our YouTube channel for the podcast host, I used to create a video for that every week or so. And some would do quite well, some would not do so well, but they'd never be in the tens of thousands of viewers because the market's just not as big. There's not as many eyeballs on it. So there's probably something around that too. Like, you put out an AI video and it can get 50K views because there's so many people searching that stuff. But just general startup marketing, perhaps not. Yeah.
I think it's a good meta example for the business in general. Podcasting through COVID was super hot, right? Going up massively. Now, like, it's not. And I think that, to your point of, like, being a little nimble in the business, like, hey, it's a stair-step thing. Like, I'm not married to this thing forever. I think many of us are too married to our business forever.
Yeah, you have your identity tied to it and everything. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And now it's different when you have investors. Like, we have investors, and I owe it to investors and Rob Walling and Tiny Seed plus their other investors. I definitely owe them to do what I can to make the business perform. But if you're bootstrapped, I think maybe that's where the math changes. Like, if you're bootstrapped and you're in kind of a average market that's not growing, and it's so difficult to grow a SaaS right now, I think you should just be really honest with yourself and say, like, hey, are my 40 hours a week better spent somewhere else?
Yeah. Well, we're talking about the fact that we were SaaS and content. So content, both are quite under threat spaces at the moment. But I think actually, I believe podcasting is one of the least under threat parts of content. Like I said, we've already said, the conversational element is really hard to replicate. But equally, the video side as well, like, that ties into then YouTube growing really fast. Those longer conversations, like, quite nicely produced with different camera angles, all that kind of stuff. I think I said earlier on, like, I believe I left Alitu in a pretty good state to grow from where it can. Like, that wasn't necessarily why I got out, because I think Alitu can really grow. I think it's really well placed to capitalize on the video side of podcasting and really be one of the best places to produce that stuff. But it's partly the fact that a lot of our customers in the past have come from written content. Like, our biggest lead channel was how to podcast. It was like how to start a podcast, choose the best podcast microphones, how to record audio, how to edit audio, all that kind of stuff. And that's the part that's under threat. It's actually, the stats back in February when I sold were still slowly going down, but there was never the massive drop that I always feared would come along. And actually, they're relatively steady. So it hasn't dropped off as much as I feared it might. But it's definitely still a bit under threat. So it needed somebody to come in as, like, our acquirers that have other skills, like paid acquisition, like partner deals, all of that kind of stuff that can grow the company in different ways. I think that was part of my thinking there too. I don't know. How do you think about it that way? Do you still rely a lot? I mean, we've always been both kind of quite heavy on the SEO, haven't we? But are you looking at a lot of different methods now?
No, Yeah, like SEO is our only bet right now. We've done paid and hired a fantastic agency. If anybody wants like a recommendation for a really good SEO agency, it's called Working Planet. They're actually in Providence, where I live. Amazing. Emma there, handled our account, and they were incredibly good. And we just couldn't make it work at like the dollars that we need. Like our average revenue
kind of
per
return.
user is $29 a month. Probably yours was kind of something similar, but our lifetime value is like $1,000. So we get paid back over an incredibly long period of time, which is terrible for SEO, for paid acquisition. So like paid, like couldn't make it work. SEO and content is kind of like the thing that we have to hang our head on at this point, which is the problem with like a lower price point SaaS. Is like your options to acquire customers is so limited.
I think there's so much in the partner deal types, the brand deal, the influencer marketing, the what does it call it? GDC content? No, C creator UGC content. Yeah, that's the one. UGC content. I think that's a big avenue as well, which I just never had the nerve or the personality to be able to do it, because I think there's so much like you just have to go out there and meet so many people and talk to so many people and be a salesman basically. And I think that's a place where I think obviously Castos would be a place to do it as well, but Alitu is as well to go forward that way. I think there's other ways, but yeah, certainly that's another kind of aspect to selling, is when there's a growth opportunity there, but it's just not something you're particularly skilled at. Which many things I'm not skilled at, and that's one of them.
Well, I mean, it's great to kind of hear some of the exit story. I'd love to hear like folks' thoughts. Like if you're on YouTube, like leave a comment below. If you're on podcasting apps, like find Colin and or I on socials and like drop your comments about like what you want to hear more of or less of around Colin's exit. And just like our conversations in general. I think we have handfuls of topics we want to cover. Some of them will be kind of evergreen. Some will be kind of current, like what we're working on right now. A lot probably around marketing and like growing a business, because that's our jam. Colin, anything else you want to chat through?
No, I'm just really there's a ton of stuff I'm excited to talk to. We've kind of done a couple of maybe looking back in history episodes here, but once we start getting into what are we working on now and doing a bit more update of like what's working for us, what's not, there's so much I'm kind of playing around with and building right now, which is great fun. As much as I said, I'm trying to be lazy and not do much.
Yeah, you have a few weeks before you can really start doing that, right? Converting your rules.
But it's like, it's good fun anyway. And also, one of the things I thought maybe we'd have time for today, I was going to ask you about, was that chat that we had around, very briefly, around solo or team, because I had the same kind of dichotomy, I suppose, whereby I absolutely loved building a team and working with people and curating people and helping them get better and having kind of complementary skills and that feeling of momentum and all that kind of stuff. But equally, there's no question that in business some of the worst problems are team problems. So there's definite ups and downs, so that'd be great to talk through as well, because definitely someone I'd be thinking about, like what next, like if I was starting something new, I feel like I'd be looking for a co-founder in that, and I'd be really wary of doing it myself again. So I'd love to dig into that in the next few weeks as well.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think it's an interesting question. Both of us are solo, non-technical founders, so I think that's a challenge, limitation.
Yes.
Maybe not. Yes. Maybe it's a superpower. I don't know. It's definitely something I think being a solo founder is super lonely. At the same time, like having a founder is like a serious relationship. So I think something that like you and I never have had those would go into like intentionally,
Yes. I know. I'm sure if we had this talk with somebody with a few different co-founder businesses, they'd probably want to. It's always grass is always greener, isn't it? They'd be like, "Oh, I would love to do that by myself, just like dictatorially, just do this and that and this, and never have to ask anyone about it." And
for sure. Neat. Well, we'll leave that as a cliffhanger. We'll talk about that in the next episode. So if you're not already, please subscribe so you make sure you get that episode as soon as it comes out. Colin, super fun. Thanks for hopping on and being co-host extraordinaire.
Indeed. All right. Talk to you soon, Craig.